Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex, and landed episode number 177, and nothing on Earth changes quite so often as fashion. You won't believe the way some people look. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
Do you know some of them even wear safety pins? I don't, personally.
And celery.
And celery.
I wonder if he was making a dig at the second Doctor at that point.
Why do you say that?
Because he wore a safety pin to keep his...
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I can.
Oh.
He always had a safety pin keeping his...
I
think the bow tie was actually safety pin to the shirt,
been,
actually.
Yeah.
And then back pedals later to say earrings.
The cosmic hobo.
It is actually a safety pin. I wonder if that's because he
Couldn't tie it.
He just wanted to... Couldn't be bothered with a clip-on, so...
Well, they probably didn't make them yet. Or I guess they could have traveled forward and got one.
Yeah, see.
How are you guys?
Good.
Did you have a good weekend? It's a shortened week.
It was a short week.
Do you hear that calm?
Does that mean finals is over?
Finals is over.
Yay! How'd you do?
How did I do? I got an A full-blown 100% on my archaeology paper that I turned into a Doctor Who paper.
So you're going to be posting that on the website?
I suppose I could put it's to be continued. I didn't finish it. I just wrote what I needed to and then stopped. But the Doctor Who
multi-part
part
story.
1.
Yeah, I can post part 1 if you guys really want to see it. But she must have liked it because I got 100% on that. And then I scored a B on the actual final, which is good for a B in the class. And then I didn't do quite as well on my Murder Mystery Mayhem final as I did on the midterm, but it was still enough to pull an A out and get an A for that class.
Cool. Very good.
And I'm probably going to get an A in the art class. I haven't seen the actual grades yet. The other one's kind of up in the air. It might be a C. I don't know.
Passing regardless.
Passing regardless, yeah.
What was the other class?
Social media.
Oh. What?
Yeah. It should.
Well, you are kind of stunted in that area.
It should have been an easy A, but yeah, I don't know.
Oops.
It was a lot of busy work. I don't know. It depends on what she thinks of my Mike's Golf Shop paper.
We sell golf.
We sell golf clubs.
So have you done a lot of fun stuff since you've finished school for the summer?
Have you done
or for
anything
the
since
spring?
you finished? Or did you just kind of lay low?
Go into a coma?
I had wanted to, but I've worked
still.
Yeah. Today is my Wednesday.
Are they taking advantage of you
shift.
now? Are they going, well, okay, now you don't have school, so...
Yeah, I've got 6 days on before I get my next one, so today's Wednesday for me.
So you're only halfway there.
Yeah.
Not even halfway there.
Today's Wednesday, and I work Saturday, too, so keep that in mind.
Yuck.
But yeah, my next day off will be Thursday this week, so I'm like, Thursday. Mark on the calendar. A day where I can do bumpkiss. I won't
Assignments due, no work.
I'm hip deep in my next project, so yeah, never ends. But no, I've just been doing a lot of that. Mel and I did go to the movies last night and saw Godzilla.
Is it good?
Oh my god, it was so good.
I can tell from your post.
I'm not like a huge Godzilla fan, but I enjoy them. They're one of those things that you kind of grew up with peripherally, and you're aware of them, and you watch them, but you don't really watch them. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think I got more into them as I got older, that I would go back and kind of watch every now and then, or when AMC would do a monster, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's when I mostly saw them, was on AMC.
And I will admit that I'm one of those few people that actually don't mind the Matthew Broderick 1998 film. It's not a good movie at all.
Well,
and it's not a Godzilla
I think,
film.
as we said last week, it's a good
movie.
monster movie. It's a good action movie. It's not a Godzilla.
It's just not a Godzilla movie. But this is a Godzilla movie. And it's done right, and it's very reverent to the material that came before. And it actually mentions material that came before.
Well, I've heard...
They do it as kind of a sequel.
I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I think you've been kind of spoiled on this as well, that the idea is that Godzilla actually was spotted in the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah,
that's where the movies kind of came from, was the lore of Godzilla, and somebody decided to make a movie. So it was kind of a Loch Ness idea where
I didn't know
he had sort of, he'd been seen, but nobody had really substantiated the rumors. But it became such an epic idea that the films were made based on the sightings.
It's not spelled out to that extent. It's definitely...
He definitely shows up in the
He definitely
50s,
shows
right?
up in 1954, specifically.
Right.
They mentioned
Which is
that...
The most recent trailer that came out before the
Gojira
movie
film.
came out specifies that and then sets up the whole conflict for the actual movie instead of what we had before.
Which, well, I think it's the new trailer where they comment on the fact that all the atomic testing that was going on in the Pacific wasn't
Right.
testing. It was they were trying to kill Godzilla, and that he's been quiet since because they left him alone. So, so they knew he was there. Yeah, it's an incredibly well done, and they balance everything just right because you're going into this and. Spoiler alert, Godzilla's name's in the title, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Godzilla in the movie. So when you have to tiptoe around all this, what is this mystery? Oh my goodness, look, there's a giant, that part of your brain is screaming, get on with it, I know there's a monster coming. And they do a really good job of kind of leading you up to it, and there's a certain amount of buildup that they have to do. And just when you get to that point when you're really railing against it and going, oh, for Pete's sake, I know... This thing shows up, and it's not Godzilla, and you're like, wait a minute. So from that moment on, they've got you, and you're really, okay, where are we going with this? And it's a really intriguing one.
Did you guys go see it in 3D?
We did not see it in 3D. And
Cinema Blend gave it a 34 out of 35.
Really?
The 3D? Or?
Yeah. It's on their scale of, should you see it in 3D or should you not? And they said, absolutely go see it in 3D.
Wow.
I just on the 2D presentation, I would have fought against that. It must all be depth because there's nothing.
Well, I think there's some flying out, but not as much.
There's nothing that I remember that kind of came at the screen, and it's a dark film. In fact, all the battle stuff is at night, which I was a little disappointed with, but at the same time, I was like, I'm having a good time. I don't care. But I would have liked one daytime Godzilla fight. But there's certain things that happen as they happen, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but there's definitely one moment that you get to, and it's like, ooh, that kind of thing. There's a lot of squee and fanboying. And so we had a great time. Mel loved it. She was just over the moon for it, and I really enjoyed it, and just can't say enough. Ken Watanabe was awesome. What's his name?
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston was awesome. Just a really well put together, enjoyable film.
I read a review that said this movie will launch Bryan Cranston's career into action and blockbuster films. That he's that.
Well, they've already greenlit a sequel.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see Cranston kind of being the next big action star based on this.
It's come a long way from Malcolm in the Middle.
He sure has.
I never watched Breaking Bad, so I'm sure he was good.
I loved him in Malcolm in the Middle.
I did too.
But yeah, you don't have to stay through the credits.
There's no.
That's my one complaint. If I had two complaints, one is that I wish Godzilla was in it a little bit more, but to combat the naysayers who are like, "Oh, Godzilla's not in the movie enough." If you've ever watched a Godzilla movie, he's not in them very much.
They couldn't afford to have him in it too much then.
So that fits right in with everything you've ever seen before. And the second minor little complaint I had is we sat all the way through the credits, and I really wanted at the end to see Godzilla will return on the screen, and it wasn't there. I was like, oh, now I'm sad, Batman.
I'm sort of over the post-credit sequence, with the exception of the Marvel films. Because
I didn't need a scene or anything. I just wanted those words: James Bond will return, Godzilla will return. That's all I wanted, but. It's not there. So totally, two thumbs way up. Go see Godzilla. It's awesome.
Great. Well, I'm excited. I want to see it, but I've got so much other stuff going on. I still need to see Spider-Man 2, or Amazing Spider-Man 2, and this weekend will be X-Men Days of Future Past. So that's on the agenda for me.
Have you been leading up to that with anything big?
No, it's just been kind of casually.
Did you go back and rewatch the movies or anything?
Not really.
No?
That's the other thing you did that you haven't told him about was Origins. Because you talked to me about it at Friday Night Who.
Oh, yeah, I watched Origins.
What'd you think?
Well, Mel and I watched Origins. Mel had seen it before, although...
I thought she hadn't.
She hadn't up until recently. Like, when Wolverine was at the Dollar Theater, she and Corey watched Origins. But they didn't watch it until after they went and saw it, and then found out, we probably should watch that one first.
Yeah.
It's not as horrible a film as everybody I know made it out to be. It's not a good one. I mean,
It's made out bad because it's easy to pick apart. It's an easy target.
It's a very easy
but it's
target.
not as bad as everybody makes.
And I think it's because so many of the people in my circle are diehard true blue comic book fans that the review I get from them is, oh my god, it was worst thing ever.
But the thing is,
And
like
wasn't.
2/3 of the movie stays relatively parallel to the comics. It's not what happens in the comics, but none of the X-Men films were. No. But it stays relative and parallel to a lot of the things. A lot of the characters are portrayed in such a way that they were portrayed in the comics, and that was his team before the Weapon X program. That's all laid out and very good. The things that they did wrong were Gambit and Deadpool. That ultimately is where they deviated from the comics the most. And I think that's the first thing that comic book fans remember. And that's the first thing that smacks them in the face. And so suddenly, after they finish the movie, they go, well, I just didn't stick to the comic book.
It ends, unfortunately,
you're
with
right.
Deadpool and it going so horribly wrong.
And
Gambit's just in the wrong time stream. That's the problem.
And I don't have a problem with that, because they've always mucked with the time stream. Rogue should be way older than she actually is.
See, well, that's true.
But just doing what they did to Deadpool is what
even
leaves
Deadpool,
the sour
quite
taste in most
honestly,
people's mouth.
Her and Banshee are brother and sister in the comic books. So.
Yeah.
Even what they did to Deadpool, quite honestly, I was okay with it. I mean, it didn't. Does it suck that we're not going to get to see Deadpool?
What they did. He's not Deadpool.
He's just not Deadpool. Yeah, I mean, it's almost more like mimic than anything. But that didn't faze me. And I didn't like the actor, but I liked Gambit. I thought the portrayal of Gambit was actually pretty good. The way his powers were realized, and the way that the cards, like the outline of the diamond and everything, was like, that was really cool. The way he handled the staff and whatnot, that was really pretty cool.
But I also thought Gambit deserved a better or bigger story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of being,
I think the thing that really, really bugged me was just the let's take all continuity, whether it's comic book or otherwise, and throw it out the window. And because it's like, well, as long as you don't really consider this to be within the same movie universe, it's okay. And then,
but you're
Xavier shows up at the end of the film. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
But you could almost believe that Sabretooth is a different Sabretooth. Like there are two people that are similar.
That
enough.
was bad. That was bad.
I thought Leif Schreiber did a great job.
Did a great job. And if he had been Sabretooth from the beginning, it would have been wonderful. But they just completely destroyed that.
Yeah.
Unless you give me a reason why he went blonde and dumb
and grew about 3 feet.
Yeah. If he's got a serum and he's been pumping up on it, getting bigger progressively throughout the movie, and you led to that moment, that would have been really cool, but you didn't.
At least he didn't get shot with a memory bullet.
Yeah, the memory bullet. It was kind of one of those things. It was like Revenge of the Sith. It was like, so when are you going to wipe his memory? When are we going to have the one's memory right?
I would have preferred the procedure be the
that's what I always thought. What did it?
Yeah,
and that's the only impression I got from the comics. What I saw.
What's the impression you get from the comics? It's the impression you get from the first two movies. Yeah. Is that he wakes up out of the vat and doesn't remember anything.
Right.
That's believable.
Yeah. It's so traumatic that his brain just kind of goes blank.
Yeah, but instead, we get another 2/3 of the film before it's like, yeah, okay. But
yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah. It's not the best. It's the lowest on the films, absolutely. But I'm fine with it. It's quite all right, and I think I can still wedge it into the universe. I mean, it's got its continuity issues, but I can still wedge it in there and say, okay, this is presumably how it started.
There's a lot of headcanon that needs to go on to make it work.
Exactly.
It's real unfortunate because I would have really liked to have seen an X-Men Origin Storm, an X-Men Origin Cyclops.
That was the plan until Wolverine didn't do well.
Well, the next one they were going to do was Magneto. That was in the talk in the longest time. It was Wolverine and Magneto.
See, I had heard Storm was on the neck.
I'd never heard that
because they'd already signed Halle Berry to do it. So
is that why she went over and did Catwoman?
Probably. Okay, so this is a little off topic.
Mistake. I've never even watched that because I don't care. I don't care.
I did watch it, and I literally got to the point where there's a big fight at the end, and you've got Halle Berry and Sharon Storm. They're both wearing tight leather, rolling around on the floor having a cat fight, and I couldn't even get excited over that. That's how bad that film is.
Our poor listeners, we will get off this comic book movie tangents that we do every week after week after all the comic book films.
Once the summer's over.
So,
well, there'll be kind of probably a lull there between X-Men Days of Future Past and Guardians of the Galaxy because we've got a 3 or 2.
Although Monday we get a new trailer.
We do. We're counting down to the trailer.
There's a trailer for a trailer.
We're getting teasers for the trailer.
Yeah, there's teasers for the trailer. I think that's just wow.
I'm so tired of it.
It's incredible marketing.
No. Yeah.
It's incredible marketing.
I'm tired of it.
I'm all over it.
Just give me the stupid trailer.
No, I'm ready. So what?
Then if I'm going to watch all the teasers, why bother watching the full trailer?
What's worse? When you have an actor who comes in and is now established as character X in this universe, who then goes on to play another character in the same cinematic kind of bubble for the same company, or when they jump ship and go to the other side and
It worked fine for Chris Evans.
What do you mean?
Well, Chris Evans is an example. Chris Evans was
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four,
right.
and then later he's Captain America. Now they're both Marvel universe, or both Marvel movies, but separate bubble universes. Is that a transgression versus Halle Berry, who played Storm in the Marvel universe, then going to play Catwoman in the DC?
Another example.
But again, that's kind of still an offshoot thing.
Another example would
that's
be
an offshoot of an offshoot.
Ryan Reynolds to
Ryan
Green
Reynolds
Lantern.
going from Deadpool to Green Lantern.
Oh, he even went from Marvel being Blade Trinity, even though it's a new character, Deadpool, then Green Lantern.
Yeah, he's good.
That I'm okay with.
Because it's hard to
Because-
rationalize Marvel or Blade as Marvel.
Well, new character. That excuses it. But once you're an
as far as I'm aware,
established character,
I could be completely wrong. He could be an established character in the comics.
I
I've
suppose
never read
that's
the
true.
comics.
but once you
I never read any of the
once you're a superhero, once you put on the cape and you be so and so, I kind of feel like you are then excluded from being any other superhero character. Like you're done. That was it, and you're done now.
That means we wouldn't get Nathan Fillion as anybody else.
Ben Affleck is Daredevil and Batman. It's just kind of
What
one
has
of those.
Nathan Fillion been in the comic book world?
He was a superhero, not a comic book superhero. Captain Hammer.
He was also the voice of Green Lantern. If you want to go that route, but-
There's been a lot of voices.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just one of those things that's kind of like, but then sometimes it works because I really think Chris Evans was great as Johnny Storm,
He's the
and
one that
he's
makes
been
it work.
great as Captain America.
And he has
so,
played them as two different, two different sides of a coin.
So we were just talking about that at work
I
today.
don't know, that's a
and
good
I was like,
question. I never really thought that much about it. If somebody from X-Men went over and played in Man of Steel or Batman or something like that, then I might have a better judgment. But Halle Berry going over and playing Catwoman, which is nothing like Catwoman from the DC Comics.
I mean,
No problem.
It'd be like if Scarlett Johansson was suddenly announced as the new Wonder Woman.
Right,
It would just
right.
be-
Yeah.
It'd be
wrong.
It'd be
It's just
harder,
wrong, darn
It'd be
it.
harder if it were the same companies, like Chris Evans, and they then tried to fit it into the bigger universe, where it's the same actor.
Yeah.
That won't work. In fact, Lego Marvel pokes fun at Chris Evans being both roles. One of
No way.
the
Really?
achievements is having Human Torch and Captain America on a team, co-op.
That's fun.
And it's titled "Don't I Know You?"
Nice. Apparently, I don't have that one, so
Oh, now you know to get
yeah,
it.
I'll have to get that one.
Because you
I
can
need
get
to
it.
catch
You
back
can get it
up.
really early on.
I need to catch back up, especially before the Hobbit games come out. So.
James
It's out.
postulated, and
Oh, is it out now?
Yeah.
James
I
postulated
need to play
an
Lego
interesting
movie
idea
too.
that if they were smart, that Fox and Sony would actually team up and kind of try and create
I've been saying that all along.
a Spider-Man,
I've been saying
Fantastic
that all
Four,
along.
X-Men universe that's all one continuity,
saying that
just
all
to
along.
compete with.
Well, they're already trying to build Spider-Man as his own universe as it is.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing a very good job from what I've heard. But
You don't have to do a buddy film for a long time.
Well, no, not a buddy. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't have you. I think eventually that's your goal.
Yeah,
that's
eventually
what
you
you shoot
get
for
that.
is a
That's
buddy
the
film.
long term.
But you don't have to do that. You can just drop characters in from here
Cameos.
to make them cameos, establish some continuity, some continuum, and then once you gauge the reaction, which is going to be immensely huge, then you do your buddy movie, and you both finance it. You're equal partners. One person distributes it worldwide. One person distributes it domestically. You just iron all of that out ahead of time. You make sure that your contracts with Marvel, Square, and which that might be the tough thing is cross promoting those, because Marvel, who has a hand in it as well, already inked out the character rights, and so there would have to be some legal wrangling there to get Wolverine in an X-Men film. In fact, I'm a little surprised that, or I'm sorry, Wolverine in a Spider-Man film. But I was a little surprised that they were able to attach the trailer to the end, but apparently that went
that
well.
Was,
so
that was all the director.
But it's
stuff,
still.
but it worked.
But the point is, it's still attached.
They
to
were
a film
able
that
to do it.
competing
Yeah.
against,
There was a whole forest of Chem that was destroyed for the paperwork to get
Yeah.
that to happen.
But it's possible, and since Marvel's setting up their own universe, they may not be as nice at letting that happen if they realize, well, that's competition.
Yeah.
Even though it's competition with themselves because they're making money off of these films that Fox and Sony
Well,
own.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. What else did you guys do this week?
I didn't do too much since Wednesday. Friday, the First Lady was in town. And so that was just an immensely... It wasn't even stressful. It was just an immensely exhausting
It was
day.
stressful for the first part, at least for me, because I had trouble filling my show
Sure,
because there was
sure.
nothing local to put in.
Right.
Because everything was later.
It had been immensely tough for you because you have such a large
Yeah.
hole to fill in the 5 and 5:30, and there wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah.
But all of the coverage was planned for that. So.
Yeah.
And now a dancing puppy.
And it wasn't difficult by any means, but Friday night when I got home, I was exhausted. I don't know why. I didn't do anything physically. I think it was just more of the emotional and I don't, like I said, it's not stress. It was just exhausting.
Did you
time.
actually join us for Friday Night Who?
Well, I did. I was
joined
there.
in.
Started.
That's
And
where
then you
where
were
I'm
gone.
going because I was there for the first 2 episodes and then I fell asleep. So, so I finished watching it on Saturday, and it was one of those ones that I couldn't remember a dang thing about it. Even looking at the characters on the cover, I could not place it. I could not place the film. And it wasn't until he put the helmet on to go outside into the ship that I went, oh, this is the one with the spacewalk. And then it all kind of started flooding back in, and I remember
I was
everything.
pretty late in it.
So it was one of those, once my realization that I had seen it at least once, and there was a chance that if I didn't see it this weekend, I could do it from recall, my brain shut down after the second episode, and I went to sleep. But I went ahead and booted it up on Saturday and watched the other 2 parts.
We did do the tweet along to X-Men First Class.
Oh, that's right, we did. I forgot.
That was before Friday.
I forgot that. That was Thursday night. We did X-Men First Class, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we
that
had
was
a
a
lot.
lot of
We had a
fun.
good turn. Pretty good turn.
I forget how good that movie is.
Oh, happy
I don't-
birthday,
I don't
Chrissy,
go
by
back
the
and
way,
rewatch
who
it as often.
turned
First
Sunday,
Class.
or Saturday. she
Saturday.
turned
It was her
whatever
birthday
age she is.
Saturday.
It's not polite to ask her age, but
She
yeah,
doesn't
so
even
happy
have
birthday
movies.
to her. That just all that muddled together reminded me it was her birthday. And then, so yeah, we did that on Thursday. Friday was Friday Night Who and Michelle Obama. And then Saturday, we didn't do a whole lot. The kids and I and Holly, the kids wanted to eat outside, so we cooked hamburgers out on the grill, and we ate outside, and then on our like little picnic table in the back. And then we've had this fire pit that we bought 2 Christmases ago. We bought it Black Friday, actually, before 2 Christmases ago, 2 Black Fridays ago. And we bought it. We got it super cheap as one of those deals, and it's set in the box in our basement for like 8 to 9 months. And I'd never put it together. I was like, okay, we got to get that out and put it together. So I put it together, and so last fall we dug it out and put it together, and we decided that we were going to use it. Well, by the time we got around to using it, it got so late, and I tried to build a fire in it, and it wasn't going right, and it wasn't working. So I gave up on it. Decided I think I had some wood that was had too much green in it still. So it's been sitting out there all winter, and then we were looking at it, and I said, you know what, we should fire the fire pit up, and we'll make s'mores. And so that's what we did. We started a fire, we made s'mores. The kids had never had s'mores before. And,
did they like them?
Caitlin loves them. Mason just likes roasting marshmallows. So Holly and I ate his s'mores. But he just kept going back to it with marshmallows, going back. We're like, okay, we're going to have too many s'mores for any of us to eat. So we did that.
Just marshmallows.
Today was not much. I actually serviced my lawnmower finally, so now it's running like brand new. Got the backyard knocked down again because the yard's growing so fast with all the rain and decent weather we've had. And then that was pretty much it. Tonight we went out to dinner with some friends, and that's been the extent of my weekend.
Keith, what'd you do?
Well, this was the last weekend my sister was in town. So, last Saturday nights, I cooked dinner. We had chicken tortellini and apple muffins.
Apple muffins!
She was a little bit dismayed that it was from a box. But,
Aww.
well, she's a pastry chef.
Never look behind the counter.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And she actually said they were pretty good for coming from a box.
That's a high compliment from a pastry chef.
It is. And then, because Sarah was interested in watching it, we watched The Pirate Fairy.
How was it?
It was actually pretty cute. I expected it to be aimed at kids way down here, and it was actually a little higher than that. It wasn't as much fairy as I expected. Like, there's the band of them, but it's more about the pirates in the story than anything else. Tom Hiddleston does a good job as Hook.
I imagine the rest of the pirate, or the rest of the fairy movies are probably
Maybe.
a little more fairy orientated.
Megan loves all of them, so it's hard to tell if she's biased by it, but she says this is probably one of her favorites of the fairy movies.
Of all of them, that's the only one I haven't seen yet. So they're all quite enjoyable.
Sarah's interested to go and watch them.
Yeah,
all
and the bunch of them are on Netflix,
yeah.
by the way. So
yeah, I know the first couple are.
My kids both have gone through them and like them a lot. And they're quality movies for being most of them. All of them.
I was pretty impressed by this animation in this one too. I don't know if they put more money into it or if they just got they got better at it, but it was nearly theater quality.
I think they've all been of equal quality since
really.
the beginning. Yeah,
wow,
so.
That's impressive.
I think the first one is just called Tinkerbell.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it does some nice nods to Peter Pan in it, especially with Captain James. It doesn't have a Hook yet, so he can't be Hook.
Oh, is it a prequel?
Yeah, it's a prequel. I guess all the Tinkerbell movies are prequels to Peter Pan.
Yeah, it's before
this one. It has James and a baby croc who gets a clock in his stomach, which is nice. And I don't want to spoil the very end because it's a nice little cameo.
Okay.
And then we went to lunch today and went to AJ's New York Pizza, which we've been telling my sister about this the whole 2 weeks she's in. We've got to go have AJ's, and she never got to it until today. And then we took her back to the airport and came back in time for shows. It was kind of low-key, relaxing weekend, but it was nice to spend some family time before she went back.
Yeah.
The other thing I did was 100% on Lego Marvel.
Hey,
nice.
Thank you. Ended up staying up till like 4 o'clock in the morning Friday night.
You're back ahead of me. We seem to leapfrog each other.
Well, you start the game and then fall off, and then I just pound at it until I finish it. Those races.
You got.
I got that at Christmas.
Yeah,
so
but I was going back through, and you got Pirates of the Caribbean done before me.
Yeah.
You were in the middle of Lego Clone Wars, or Star Wars 3 Clone Wars, and I bounced past you even though I started later than you.
Yeah.
And then Harry Potter, I think I got done before you.
You probably did.
Lord of the Rings, I think. Oh, I haven't finished Lord of the Rings either yet. So
I've gotten that before you.
So you're actually to it. I mean,
yeah.
Now that I'm out of school, I'm looking forward to going back and I don't know, maybe I could finish Harry Potter or
you're still working through the first one, right?
Yeah.
There's 2.
I know.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what game I'm going to do next. But
Well,
no, I don't have that one yet. So I have a stack of games I haven't played yet.
I see.
So
because of Lego stuff.
Well, just because I haven't been playing as much as I used to.
Oh, I think I finished Batman before you did. Batman 2.
I know you started Lego Batman 2 before me.
But I finished.
I want to say I ended
Maybe
up
you did.
plowing through it. I think you finished the story. You always finish the story.
Yeah, I
before
usually
me.
have the story done before you.
And then it's when you get in the free play and the hub stuff is where you fall off.
That's probably right.
I complained about the races before. They really aren't as bad as I thought they were. Some of them
on Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On some of them, the trick is cheating and bumping into the guy that you're racing so they don't get the boost.
I didn't think that.
And then going ahead of them.
I didn't think
like
that.
the Maria Hill one on the helicarrier. Mm-hmm. And
off the edge. There you go. Finish that race.
And for like the silver, have you done the Silver Surfer race?
I tried. I think I started it once.
Green Goblin.
Okay.
I don't know why, but something about the way his flying mechanisms work, it works better.
Well, it's going to work the same concept as the Silver Surfer.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And then just doing the double boost to get ahead of him works really well.
Okay.
So
I'll try that.
Yeah, I stayed up till like 4 a.m. and had 2 races left to do and had to call it quits and then ended up finishing them last night. Also, for anyone who wants to join along on Tuesday, we will be doing the Tweet Along to Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. The poll has closed.
I'm excited.
Tuesday, May
1.
20th. By a resounding 4 votes to 1.
So Tuesday we'll do that. Wednesday we'll do Wolverine.
The Wolverine. I probably won't join for that one, Glenn.
You've been there every week.
I know, but I just watched it.
So disappointed.
I know. But I finally picked up World's End at the library, so now I can finally see that.
You still haven't seen World's End?
I still haven't seen World's End. I never made it to the theater
You're
to
talking
see
about the
it.
Pirates movie?
No.
Oh.
I'm talking about the Simon Pegg Coronado trilogy movie.
Oh.
The
What? You haven't seen
I
that?
know. I never got around to it.
Oh my gosh, I went to the theater and saw that.
I wish I that's the only one I didn't go see in the theater.
So good.
I look forward to watching it. So that's what I'm probably going to do Wednesday while you guys are watching Wolverine. Either that or Gojira, because I have that on my
Gojira
coffee table.
Oh, okay. Because that was not on Netflix. I had to watch.
It's on Amazon.
I had to watch the crappy Godzilla King of Monsters because
the original
Gojira
is on Amazon Prime, which I discovered after I picked it up at the library.
I don't have.
I'm
Prime
really tempted to buy the Criterion. I have no money, but
I looked at it more. I think, because we discussed it, I think the Criterion is the actual 54 version.
doesn't have both of them on.
I don't think it has both. Because it's Godzilla King of the Monsters is how they re-released it for the
I
US.
thought it still had Raymond Burr in it, but maybe
No,
not.
the original did not have.
Well, I mean, but
Oh, the Criterion.
yeah.
Well, actually, I watched. That's not true. It's not on. It's not on Amazon, or it's not on Netflix. The Criterion version is on Hulu. That's where I watched it, and it's just King of Monsters. It's not Gojira.
Yeah, that's the one that's on Amazon,
Yeah.
King of Monsters.
So yeah, the Criterion version, at least on Hulu, is on.
But they've
is
added a
just
whole bunch
King
of other ones to Netflix. So I think I might try to watch a couple more, because the actual Japanese follow-up, I think, is on Netflix.
Godzilla 1985.
Not yet. I knew you were going to ask that one.
Best one ever.
Yeah, I don't remember that one very well.
It's ridiculously fun. Of course, I also like the Godzilla 2000.
See, I don't know if I saw that one either. I kind of fell off with my Godzilla.
He fights a UFO, and it's really cool. It's one of those that you watch and you go, for a Godzilla movie, this has got some awesome special effects. There's a flying saucer and ray beams and all kinds of digital stuff, and a guy in a rubber suit. Just like
the follow-up is Godzilla Raids Again. That one's on Netflix.
Oh man, it won't let me sign into my Disney movie reward.
they're having problems tonight. I just noticed
Did you
that.
have a problem?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. That was not just me.
But more importantly, Planet of the Apes on Tuesday. Conquest.
Planet of the Apes.
That's all I did this week.
According to the according to the official Criterion Collection website, the original 1954 Japanese version is presented here, along with Godzilla King of the Monsters, the 1956 Americanized version.
So it's on the disc. That
So it's
way.
on
So it's
both
just
DVDs.
streaming
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
One.
So now I'm even more tempted to go ahead and splurge and spend the money on Godzilla.
How much is it?
There are probably some... Criterion usually has really good bonus features, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
You can go. By the way, sometimes you can go to Criterion's site and get really deep discounts. So I would check there first. I mean, obviously, if you get it used at Venture Stock, you're probably paying the same or less. But
Suggested retail for the Blu-ray is $39. Criterion's price is $31.
okay, yeah, but you keep checking Criterion because they just. I've noticed that they periodically put a bunch of stuff, and I'm surprised it hasn't come down further because they usually put stuff on in promotion to something
Well, yeah.
else that's
Oh, really?
connected, whether it be an actor, whether it be in the same genre, whether it be in the same scope. So I'd keep checking back, especially as popular as Godzilla's going to be this weekend. And they may Monday go.
And
let's
with the-
bring that down a little more and see what we
With
can.
the
out of it.
announcement of a sequel.
Yeah. But 31 might be as far down as they're going to go
They're
because
going
of
to do
that.
Hard Day's Night.
Criterion is.
Yeah.
Amazon does have it for $29.98 on Blu-ray, so it's not too much cheaper.
Yeah.
Scanners.
All right. Well,
Where did
let's
I get on
move
this
on
website? I
to
didn't need to be on this website.
news.
There's absolutely nothing on this website I need. What are you doing to me, Glenn?
Doctor Who 50th anniversary story, Day of the Doctor, has won the Radio Times Audience Award BAFTA award.
Yay.
Yay! Like we had any doubt it was going to win.
What did it win?
The award it was up for?
What was it?
The Radio Times Audience Award?
Ah.
I don't know what that means.
Radio Times probably sponsors the
It last won the
Popularity
Audience
Award.
Award in 2006 when it was given the Pioneer Audience Award for Best Program of 2005. I think that was the last time it was up for it.
It's kind of a crowd favorite, is what that award is. Congratulations to them. That's great. It's good to see Doctor Who's still pulling some sort of awards in, even though it's been off our TVs for 4 months now. 5 months now.
David Bradley also won an award, but not for Adventure in Space and Time, but for Broadchurch.
All right, what's next?
Another casting announcement for Series 8. So spoilers, if you don't want to know, that Frank Skinner is going to be on the show. If you know who that is, I'm impressed.
Who is it? Is there possibly anything that I would know him
No. He was one of the Dalek operators in the Five-ish Doctors.
Oh, that's who.
That get
That's
locked in the
Frank
room.
Skinner. Yeah.
The UK will recognize him. He's a Room 101 presenter and does a lot of comedy. He's joining an episode that also features the return of 2 classic series guests, Janet Henfrey, who previously appeared as Mrs. Hardacre in the 7th Doctor story at Curse of Fenric, and Christopher Villiers hails back to the 5th Doctor's era, appearing as Hugh in The King's Demons.
Ooh.
Other guest stars for the episode include David Bamber from Rome and What Remains, and Daisy Beaumont, The Armstrong and Miller Show, A Touch of Cloth, and You, Me, and Them.
It's kind of fun to get new actors and actresses back, and the reason I say that is because that was a frequent thing that happened in the classic series, and so it's one more of those things that kind of ties it together, ties the new series and classic series together. Is this, it's old routines that they've done in the past, doing that again.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. All right,
That's it for news.
let's move on to feedback.
Feedback. First up, Holly. She writes, Forward to Doomsday and Tip of the Tongue. Hey guys, Forward to Doomsday. A Dr. Nissa, Tegan, and Adric story. I have to say I enjoyed this one, as it's their second outing together. Still have to watch The Keeper of Traken myself. It's on my to-watch pile.
Shut up. just shut up. Not you, Hal. Yes, I face-palmed in the middle of that. Kind of let the cat out of the bag with that one. That's all right.
I've known that for how long now?
Shush you. You didn't know nothing.
I mean, nothing. I was so confused by what she was talking about.
Know
This is
nothing.
the Master and Keeper of Traken?
Shush.
The Urbakans seemed nice at first, but I got a bad feeling about Monarch within the first few minutes of their interactions with him. Persuasion and Enlightenment make quite the tag team of henchmen. The Doctor and the others finding out that Bigon, and quite
Let bygones be bygones.
a few
Zygons be Zygons.
of the others are just actually androids with a plot twist I didn't see coming, and the special effects were decent considering the time it was filmed. Adric slid back into State of Decay proportions when he was about to have a knockdown drag-out fight with Tegan over the TARDIS key. Get on, Tegan, for wanting to get the heck out of Dodge and onto the TARDIS. I loved how she also dug out the TARDIS manual to see if she couldn't get it operating. The TARDIS must have quite a few of them handy, or rematerializes them, because I thought the 4th Doctor had thrown the manual out the door at one point in time.
That is now official retcon, is that every time the Doctor destroys a TARDIS Type 40 operator's handbook manual, Sexy reintegrates another one and leaves it for him to trip
She's
over.
got backups.
She's got backups of backups.
Really liked the scene between the Doctor and Adric when the Doctor was planning their escape. He put Adric on notice that he wasn't going to tell him a thing unless he was on their side. Can't say I don't blame the Doctor in the least for being a bit harsh on this, and heck, even gun-shy. This incarnation of the Doctor has had at least one companion trying to kill him, and that's one too many in the Doctor's book. Tip of the tongue. All in all, not too bad of a story. Very Doctor and Nissa light until the end. This one was probably one of the creepiest of the short stories so far. Something that you put in your mouth and it speaks the truth for you. No thank you. Then finding out at the end that these little creatures were slaves for the alien race that was in disguise in the town that the Doctor and Nissa landed in was quite interesting. We got a brief mention of both Adric and Tegan. I'll wrap it up here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on these two stories. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Always great hearing from you.
Up next is Chrissy. Chrissy writes, "The 5th will be with you. Always." That was my Alec Guinness. Not a very good one. I'm sorry, I'm tired. And a little tipsy. That suck that bag down a little too quick.
Drink it through a straw, too.
Brain doesn't need sleep. Brain just needs to stay wet. Dear Vortex boys, I don't know about the rest of you, but it's a miracle I survived the TV finale season. I won't discuss spoilers, since I don't know what everyone watches or what they're caught up to yet, but I think the creators of all of my favorite shows are trying to kill me this year. Except for Once Upon a Time, with the exception of one small scene at the end, that entire thing was just sweet and lovely and happy, and I'm really excited for Season 4. Not that you guys are interested in that, I'm just stating an opinion.
I think I know what she's talking about.
You guys are still watching it,
Nope.
aren't you? Oh, you're not?
Nope.
You just,
but I know what she's talking
you
about.
give up on it?
I gave up after Season 1.
And
I gave up when the show gave up, or when the group gave up on it.
yeah,
Actually, I gave up on it long before then. I skipped it. Whenever I skipped shows, I didn't even try to catch up.
yeah. It's not my bag, baby, really.
Chrissy, I feel your pain, and I don't think I've survived it yet, because I still have season finales to get to.
That's another thing I did this week. I watched the Arrow season finale, which was phenomenal. Yes, Chrissy, you should watch it. You should watch the series.
We watched it at shows. Mel didn't think you knew. You know they're doing a Flash show.
I heard they were doing a Flash show.
Okay,
Yes.
there's a trailer for it now. It's
Yes.
like 5 minutes long.
The Arrow was so good. Sorry.
Trophy Wife was good. Surprisingly, no, it's a really good show.
I really
I'm
liked
sad-
Dancing with the Stars
I'm
this year.
sad it's gone.
It didn't make
It didn't
make the cut.
It didn't make the cut. And it's a shame. It should have. It was one of the best sitcoms on TV the past year, I think.
A lot of people say that about the crazy ones,
That one was really good too.
and they didn't make it either.
But it wasn't. It was funny, but I didn't consider it a sitcom. It was a half-hour dramedy because it's David E. Kelly. It's not just straight comedy.
You watch a lot of TV.
I know.
I don't watch any TV.
Which I got to the season finale of that. Didn't even know it was the season finale. And even guest starred Mary Lou Henner. I didn't realize it was the season finale.
One more episode. Or there aren't any more. No!
I was like, there's no new one this week. That's weird. Maybe next week.
I didn't know when I watched the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 that it was a series finale. So I waited for the next time on Star Trek, and there wasn't. It was just credits. And I'm like, well, there's always a... No! I have to wait all summer! It's terrible. Sorry, Chrissy. She continues. I don't know if you've all seen the IDW Comics Humble Bundle thing, but it's a pretty sweet deal. I only bring it up because it includes a code to get all the Doctors they've released so far in Doctor Who Legacy. Plus, you get a ton of comics that would normally cost over $70, but you get to decide how much you pay. Also, a portion of the proceeds are going to charity, so you can't go wrong with that. And here's the link, which Glenn will include in the show notes.
It's funny, Keith brought it up
discussed-
last week to put in news, and I was like, it's what it is. So, yeah.
She gave us the link.
Now that
Glenn
there's a
will
link,
include it in
we'll
the show notes.
include it in the show
He was
notes.
just waiting for somebody to do the work for him. Speaking of our favorite time waster, Doctor Who Legacy is kicking my butt. I cannot for the life of me get past the Beast Below Tower of London level. Is that a level? That's how far I'm in. Every time I get to the final wave, that last beast tentacle thing kills my whole team in one blow. Even with my most leveled up team, even with a full health bar, it still beats me at the very end. I'm really frustrated with it. So I've been going back and leveling up weaker players in earlier levels, and just to have something to do. Yeah, there was no point discussing that, except you've all talked about Legacy really recently, and I keep forgetting to add my 2 cents. So there's that. I
don't remember that one. She must be further along than me.
I haven't picked it up recently.
I'm getting my butt kicked by the adipose.
I'm not even to that level.
Stupid little fat sacks they kick. You start with wave 1, and it's just one of those little buggers, and I can finally get him down, and then you get 2 of the little buggers, and then I can finally defeat that one, and then I get 3 of the little buggers, and that's really hard to get past. But if you do, you get past it, and then you get a Reaper, And then the Reaper's really hard because it just individually stuns everybody on your team. But then if I can manage to get him done, then you got one of those time eddies or fissures or whatever the paradox,
the cloud, yeah.
And that on me is the one that hits me once and my entire team's dead. And that is driving me nuts because it's hard enough to get to that point, to get to that wave on the level, and then to just get there, take one shot at the thing, do no damage, and then pow. Oh, that's so frustrating.
Would you like to continue using a time crystal?
Frustrating. And I don't. I don't want to beat this game that way. I've only accidentally done that once.
I did it several times before I realized what I was doing on the time level.
That was way back on the... Well, this isn't even a timed level. That's what's annoying.
I did start Season 5, and I've got about, 5 or 6 levels in, but that's as far as I've gotten, because I've kind of realized that, I'm not ready for Season 5 yet. As ready as I was for Season 5, I'm not ready for Season 5, so I'm going back and unlocking more of 6 and leveling some people up, so... Real quick, if you don't mind, I want to throw a shout-out to the Off-Broadway Theater and Laughing Stock in Salt Lake City. I think I've talked about them before. They're a comedy improv group that does original parody plays based on pop culture things, and they are hilarious. I went to their show American Captain, the First to Avenge, for my birthday yesterday, and I've never laughed so hard. I also went to their production of Doctor You last year, which was a parody of Doctor Who. They have ways of writing around characters' names and copyrighted stuff and things like that, and that one was a lot of fun. One show they've got coming up is Downton Dead, which is a mashup of Downton Abbey and The Walking Dead, which ought to be good as well. If you're ever in town looking for something fun to do, I highly recommend them. Here's their website. And I do remember Chrissy talking about how much she enjoyed Dr. You last year for her birthday. So, enough of the chit-chat. Let me do my Hooray, It's 5th Doctor Month happy dance, and then head into my reviews. Tip of the tongue. First off, the story itself is fine. Interesting alien creature, interesting concept of making people tell unpleasant truths about each other and feeding off the negative energy that comes from that. It's a well thought out premise. However, this story could have been used with any Doctor. And because this was supposed to be a 5th Doctor story, I kind of take that personal. I want 5 to get a story like 2 or 3 or even 4 had. A story that played to my Doctor's strengths and actually celebrated my Doctor the way he deserves in a 50th anniversary short story. But we don't even get the Doctor and Nyssa properly introduced until about 75% of the way into the story. At least that's the percentage my Kindle app gave me. All there is to distinguish the 5th Doctor from any other Doctor and his companion is in a few characteristics is that they look at him from the surface and don't go into any sort of depth with him. Yes, I know this is a short story, but my goodness, how much character exploration did the 3rd Doctor get in his story? I'm even more than a little annoyed that my Doctor got the short end of the shift in this story. I guess I'll stick with the 50th anniversary reprint novel they gave the 5th Doctor, which is Fear of the Dark, and it is probably one of the best Doctor Who novels I've ever read. Tip of the tongue is mediocre at best, insulting at worst. Granted, I probably wouldn't be so hard on this story, normally because it's an okay story, but for heaven's sake, it's the 5th Doctor! I'm going to be extra picky about these things. For to Doomsday! I enjoy this story for the fact that it shows off a lot of Team TARDIS, which is not an easy feat to achieve in this era. This is only the 5th Doctor's 2nd story, but you get the feeling that he's ready to go at this point, and Peter Davison gets to show off a lot of how his Doctor's going to be. Nyssa is wonderful. If anyone ever wonders why I like Nyssa so much, all they need to do is watch this story and watch what she does. Most of what she does is simple and quiet, but that is certainly in keeping within her character and what makes her so much fun to listen to in Big Finish. It's also good for Tegan and Adric because this really sets the tone for what their time in the TARDIS is going to be like, for better or worse. I particularly like the scene when Adric is being petulant and giving a masterclass in, to quote the immortal words of Sean Collins, being the worst companion ever. Copyright. And then the Doctor gives him a total verbal smackdown because the Doctor's just plain sick of his crap. I love Tegan suddenly becoming a fashion designer on the spot, plus her fluency in Australian Aboriginal language. I love the Doctor bowling a cricket ball to propel himself through space. Physics be darned, it's a fun scene. I love Nyssa saving the day through science, but not really making a big deal out of it because that's just not her way. In their own way, the crowded Team TARDIS really shines here. The story itself is quite creative too, blending a bunch of different Earth civilizations on one spaceship, except they're all androids. It's like a living museum, or even an archive, which appeals to the librarian side of me. After the mighty frog people are defeated, and the Doctor helps Bigon and company find a new planet to live on, I kind of wonder how all those different civilizations melded together to get a hybrid of ancient Greek, Chinese, Mayan, and Aborigine culture. Points for creativity, guys. That's it from me. Thanks to everyone for the birthday wishes on Saturday. I really had a great day, and it was fun to start it out with a Fifth Doctor Friday Night Who. One would almost think you did that on purpose. Happy it's almost summertime, Chrissy.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Didn't you just have snow like last week, Chrissy?
That was Brittany.
Was it Brittany?
Yeah, it was Brittany.
Okay. It's almost summer, I guess. It's summertime somewhere, so I'll celebrate with you.
It hasn't felt like it here, that's for sure.
We're kind of going back into it almost feels like fall.
Yeah,
It's
been nice.
very brisk. I'm not complaining at all. We had one day of like 90, and it's like, yay, it's cold again.
I'm digging the weather.
It's warm in here tonight, though. My goodness.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it's been so nice, the AC's been off.
Oh, I don't blame you for having the AC off.
And then we haven't been home all day because we were in the car taking my sister to the airport, so the windows weren't open.
We might have to open that door or something. Either that or I'm taking off my pants, so I'll let you guys decide.
Please open the door.
We really do need to figure out a time to just go set up on the balcony.
Yeah. And disturb all of your neighbors.
No, they're all asleep.
Hold on, everyone.
No, the jerks down the hall do that enough.
So we'll be nothing compared to them.
Yeah, because it is a work night, I guess. Well, shall we move on to our reviews?
Let's do it.
What are we doing first?
Let's do 4 to Doomsday.
4, 2.
You don't want to start with?
I just want to get the crappy one out of the way first.
I just realized now that I didn't have my synopses pulled up for tip of the tongue. So.
Whichever, it doesn't matter.
Tap dance.
Tap dance. Happy feet. I've got those happy feet. And when that low down beat begins, they start dancing. Have I tapped enough yet? Almost.
Raise your hand if you visualized Kermit doing it.
Yep.
And raise your other hand if you were mildly weirded out over seeing frog feet. Because I'm sorry, I know he's a Muppet, but it creeps me out every time they show the bottom half of that thing. It's just, oh, look, Kermit's riding a bike. Oh!
Well, the other option was to show the hand up his butt.
Which is just as awkward.
I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders if that might just not be more preferable. Kermit feet, they're just... I feel like Holly, because your wife's got this weird thing with feet.
She does not like feet.
Kermit feet are just like creepy. The only thing creepier than Kermit feet is piggy feet. I do not like seeing this piggy's legs.
Shoes on.
I know, but there's something wrong with them.
Well, they always look like they're too small.
Yeah, well, that's part of the joke, I think. But ugh.
I think we've tap danced enough.
We have tap danced enough. In 1945,
I wasn't tap dancing. I was being serious. My feet creep me out.
In 1945, a strange new craze for truth tellers is sweeping the kids of small-town America. The Fifth Doctor and Nissa soon arrive to investigate the phenomenon, only to discover that the actual truth behind the truth tellers is far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. Bum, bum, bum.
I don't know that I give it the horn, but I certainly wouldn't give it a dun-dun-dun.
The horn.
Do you have the horn pulled up?
No, but I would give it to if I had it pulled up.
You should pull up the horn.
Okay, so...
Or tell me in advance next time you want something to have the horn so that I can pull it up for you.
I agree with Holly and Chrissy that on the surface the story is interesting. And I don't even mind it being a Dr. Light story. If it were Dr. Light in the first part and then it continued with the full story afterwards, like it's set up and hinted towards the Doctor and then he finally shows up and then other stuff happens and they go on. Or I'd be even okay with this if this was a short story that they released and it was Dr. Light, just the way it is, if it weren't intended for the 50th anniversary celebrating each Doctor. I enjoyed reading the story and thought it was a unique way to tell a Doctor Who story in novel or in written format, but it's not a good way to celebrate and pay respect to supposedly the show this guy loves because he wrote the story.
It's true.
I think the ideas of the truth tellers are rather neat. I like the way they portrayed the story. It almost kind of had a Spielberg-esque feel to it because of the kid angle.
An early Spielberg feel. Yeah.
Or Robert McCannon, who wrote A Boy's Life. If you guys haven't read that, it's kind of like like a not as scary Stephen King-esque kind of I don't know how to describe his storytelling. It's kind of almost like a novelization of a Spielberg film in a way, because it's very much from a kid's perspective and everything. And really, that's all I have to say about it, because all right story, but there wasn't enough Doctor for being a Doctor Who story.
The biggest problem with this story is it was 37 pages long.
And it was still short compared to the other ones.
Yeah, it was 37 too many. Most of my complaints are the same, but I do have problems with them. I do have a problem with the fact that, the Fifth Doctor's hardly in this novel at all. I have a problem with the... It's like... The other stories in this series have been light stories, meaning they haven't been real heavy, serious...
Which I'm fine with that.
Yeah, exactly, because they're short ebooks. But this one really felt a lot lighter than any of the other books before it, and so the story isn't engaging at all.
No,
none of the characters to me are intriguing, with the exception of the little girl and the boy, and I can't remember
Nettie.
the name. Nettie and
Johnny.
And that's the biggest problem with this book, is that those two have this relationship that's only just barely skirted.
Oh.
And if you're going to drop hints to the relationship that these two have, you've got to do it in a larger story where it goes somewhere with it. You can't just kind of fake it until the end and then give a throwaway line where the Doctor looks and sees that they've gone off together. I mean, it's there's no payoff to that. There's no payoff to the development that you're putting together for their relationship. I thought that the little tongue thing, the truth tellers, was just it wasn't an intriguing enough concept for me. I thought it was weird. I thought it was also
hard to visualize.
Yeah, it was also kind of just the fact that there's this alien family that's come to Earth and they've enslaved them and they're selling them for profit. I mean, who cares? That's the Slovene MO, sort of. I mean, on a smaller scale,
There was a fart joke in the book too.
Yeah, there's a fart joke in there too. Maybe if the Doctor had been in it more, and I don't think the Doctor's written well either. I don't think who was it? Patrick Ness got a handle on the Fifth Doctor, and it's clear that he couldn't because he didn't put him in here enough.
I think maybe he was just the wrong person to write the story.
Yeah, he wasn't realized well. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the story really kind of goes anywhere before it's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's very little tension. There's very little confrontation. There's very little. I mean, the biggest confrontation is over what's his name, the guy that owns the general store, or owns the town essentially, and Nettie, when she's working on his car and he pushes her down and she scratches it. That's the biggest climactic confrontation in the entire story. And this whole thing of Johnny buys a truth teller to impress a girl, there's nothing there. It's too short to put these things into place and then be done in 37 pages. And how
did Nettie get it?
This is
because Nettie's been very. She's written as very anti-truth teller through the whole thing, that she's too poor to own one and that she wouldn't have one even if she could because it's beneath her, and yet she's got one. That suddenly...
Did Nettie have one?
Yeah, that's who he bought it from.
Yeah.
Oh, he bought it from... That's right.
He bought it from Nettie at the beginning, and it was done in such a way as to begin trying to establish the relationship the two of them have.
See, I missed that. I thought... that makes it even worse. I thought she had fronted him the $2 to get the truth.
No, that's what
he gave her the $2 for the truth.
Yeah. He was all arguing and debating with himself over whether or not Mom would
okay with
the fact
because
that he shelled out the $2 because Nettie's family needed it too.
Yeah.
And so that all of a sudden creates a weird... Well, where did she get it from? I mean, the whole thing top to bottom didn't work for me.
No,
it's meant to be kind of Twilight Zone-esque.
And it would have been...
it's not.
It could have been neat if we got the Doctor so much earlier and it was still from all Johnny's perspective. Seeing the Doctor and interacting with him and doing all these things, and the Doctor's actually involved in the story, would have been really neat.
Yeah.
Because I like the perspective angle of it. It's just it's the first act of a book that needs to finish. The story needs to be finished.
What you said earlier really kind of hit it on the head for me, because I kept thinking that it was like Twilight Zone, but just so not Twilight Zone that it's like, this is not even a good comparison. And then I realized I think that's maybe what he was going for, is he was trying to write a Twilight Zone story and instead gave us a really bad Amazing Stories story.
Oh yeah,
it's so much more of an Amazing Stories feel to it. It's a little light piece of fluff that doesn't go anywhere, and by the end of it, you don't remember it. Because when I talk about Amazing Stories, there are 2 episodes of Amazing Stories that everybody remembers, and a whole bunch of ones that you don't. This is one of the ones that you wouldn't remember. It's not that it's poorly written; it's poorly constructed.
Well, and even when they got to the alien aspect of it, they don't really fully explore what these truth tellers are. They're just aliens, okay. And then when they transform the ones posing as humans, he doesn't even give them a suitable description for what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah.
It's like what?
Here's what I
Squirrel,
got.
sheep.
They have 2 metal prongs, and they unfurl from your tongue and hang down like a tie, kind of. That's the description you get. That's it.
Oh, I think he's talking about the sheepfish.
The sheepfish. I'm sorry.
Both.
Did-
You don't
did
really
any-
get good
Sheepfish was
descriptions.
terrible too.
Did
In fact,
anybody
it's like
else
he
go-
couldn't. It's like he couldn't clamp down on a way to describe them,
Yeah.
so he just kept adding a different
And a
animal to
pumpkin.
it.
Did anybody else read that and go, "Oh, Glenn's gonna hate"?
Well, no, that's not anthropomorphized because
Because
you're just mashing
you're
stuff
mashing
together.
stuff together.
That's even lazier. That's the problem is that this falls completely outside of the realm of anthropomorphized animal, because at least it's somebody trying to describe what it sounds like. The problem is he
just
goes
can't
way-
describe
he-
it.
Well, that's just it. It's
I
like
don't know. It's some alien blob thing.
yeah, he tries too hard. I mean, just give me a description of this thing. Don't give me comparisons that you're just going to throw everything but the kitchen sink in
It's
there.
a sheep.
Oh, and then throw the kitchen sink in
It's
there.
a sheep with the face of a fish, but also mixed with a squirrel and a pumpkin.
What?
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
Someone,
At all.
somebody who listens to us who's an artiste, I want you to draw this and send it. This is the contest this week. Make me understand what this thing is.
Photoshop. You know, the other thing that bothered the heck out of me is the other piece that could have been a great climactic confrontation is whatever happened inside of the house.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all done from outside, from Johnny and Nettie's perspective, and poof, the house is gone.
See,
and then the doctor comes walking out of the rubble with the prisoners.
I was okay with that.
Why don't we get
but
to see that?
I was okay with that, but they should have gave us a different climax then. Like, that happens, that's how you get the doctor into these 2 kids' lives, and then something else happens, and the alien sheep, squirrel, fish things, pumpkin things, fight them and don't want to, and they have to have some sort of conflict then, instead of them just giving up because their house dissolved because it was made of sugar.
Anybody else get the idea that Nissa was behind that one too? Look, science.
She explained it. That's how she explained it.
I agree. Why couldn't maybe the sheep things kidnap the kids because they've been in contact with the doctor and they think they're a threat and they're in the house, and then the doctor comes to free them, and then we get the big fight. Okay, now we're all inside the house together and there's a dramatic tension there before you blow it up. But no, it all happened from outside, and you know. Sometimes there's a reason for telling a story that way. I've done it myself. So sometimes there's a valid excuse for it, but most of the time it just doesn't work.
This is the worst thing to come out of the 50th anniversary, in my opinion. It's
Worse than the Space Buffalo?
worse than Space Buffalo.
Worse than the hand?
The hand.
The first Doctor's
Oh yeah, this. Oh my gosh,
robot hand?
this elevated that a big hand for the Doctor. That thing's Moby Dick compared to this.
I'm sure Ian Colfer appreciates that.
No, I mean, at the very least, if Ian Colfer didn't capture the essence of the Doctor, it still was a engaging and fun story.
It was at least interesting.
Yeah, and there was some interest to it, and the Doctor actually is the protagonist in it. We aren't seeing everything from somebody else's perspective. That's the problem with this one, is there's no doctor in this, hardly at all. It's all from the kid's perspective. And if you're going to tell the story about the kids, you need to go all out and give me some resolution with the children, and don't just surface the relationship and then just leave it hanging. It just...
I was going to try and give Patrick Ness some props for at least making Small Town America feel like Small Town America, because I thought, well, at least he did that quite well. Until I read that he was born in Virginia.
Oh,
so he is an American before moving permanently to the UK. So he's well experienced with that. And it's kind of like, oh, well, I can't really.
Part of it kind of had that Forever Autumn feel to it.
There's those moments in it where it's very British, and so I was giving it a pass because there were some. I don't remember exactly what some of the things were used, but it wasn't. It was not the American terminology or the American idea of what the object or subject was. It wasn't how an American would say it or imagine it. But I thought, it's a British author, so that's difficult, and it's geared towards British fans. But for the most part, it's a British show. And then when I found out he was born in Virginia before moving, and I was like,
well, it was at least geared towards British fans.
I suppose. I mean, that's fine. I just.
Anything else about this story? Because
like I said, I wouldn't give it the.
I didn't give it 0 stars, but I can only give it 1. I can't give it lower than 1 on Goodreads, so it's got a star from me, but that's it.
Not as impressed as
I wish
we
you
have
could half
been.
stars. I would give it a half star. I'll give it a half star for being written. There are words on a page.
There are words on a page. You accomplished part of the goal.
They formed sentences.
And they form sentences. Which and I think Sean hits the nail on the head with the fact that it's not written poorly. It's written. How'd you say it? It's written.
Structured poorly.
Structured poorly. It's written fine. I mean, it's English. It's clear to read. It's not. I mean, it's not difficult.
Aside from
it's not
descriptions.
Stephanie Meyer's writing where it's like very, very conversational. It's written well. It's just structured poorly.
Yeah,
so.
it's just it's an interesting concept of an idea, but I don't think it ever really gets off the page beyond it's like a concept car. Look, I drew this picture of a car. You can't actually drive it anywhere, and it doesn't cart anything, and it won't ever be built. But I drew this picture of a car. That's really what kind of this sums up as. It's just it's an idea. It's not even a flesh. It's more like it's a pitch for a Doctor Who story. There's going to be stuff that happens.
Oh, so that's the pre-title sequence. Okay.
And the Doctor's in it, but eventually. Yeah, not a fan of that one.
Eventually and not frequently. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Fort of Doomsday.
Could we please? A taste of this one washed out of my mouth.
The Doctor has returned Tegan to 1981. The right time, but the wrong place. The TARDIS has landed on a massive spaceship 4 days away from Earth. It's the domain of Monarch, a scientific genius of almost godlike power. Monarch rules over 3 billion of his species, as well as a group of apparently immortal humans from Earth's history. What part has he played in Earth's past? And what are his plans for its future? Will he save humanity from itself, or be its destroyer? It's Fort of Doomsday, and the Doctor has no time to lose finding out. Dun, dun, dun!
I get that enthusiastic dun, dun, dun. This is quite an enjoyable story.
I think this is I've had the most fun watching this of any Fifth Doctor stories of recent memory.
I will go so far as I think of the ones that we've seen, this might be my favorite Fifth Doctor story.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you not counting the Fifth Doctor?
Even better than the Five Doctors, which I love. Wow. I love unabashedly, but it's not a very good story because of all the ego and things that we've talked about being crammed into it. So I really like this one.
Yeah, this is one I wish I had picked up.
You had the opportunity.
This is one I would probably show to someone trying to introduce them to Classic Who, and being this is the Fifth Doctor here. I would introduce this. This is a good Fifth Doctor introduction, I think. Especially considering it's his second story in the run. So you got the first Regeneration story, which I haven't seen, and then you got this where he's very much the Doctor and almost stronger of a Doctor than he is later down the line, I think.
See, here's that's the problem with introducing somebody to the Doctor with this one is then I think you've
this
raised
is the best of his
they've raised their expectations because that's the only thing that I have a problem with, and it's not a problem from the perspective of this story because I love the story and I love the way the Doctor is. I wish the Doctor could have kept the quirkiness and energy that he has in this one, but he goes for, and the Fifth Doctor I think was relatively even. throughout the rest of his tenure. But this one, obviously, because it's the first story they shot, they even shot this one before Castrovalva. But I think that he was sort of playing off the whimsicalness that was left behind by the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. And I think he was sort of playing with that. And so it's quite enjoyable to see this youthful exuberance, bouncy Doctor that I think that I wish he would have carried that more into his series. And Chrissy, you don't have to defend this because I think he does a fantastic job the rest of his tenure. And he's a very different Doctor, and it's very, not than this, but it's in the same vein. But it's just like he brought the level down just a little bit, you know what I mean, for the rest of the series. Yeah. And I kind of wish there would have been as much quirkiness and energy as he has in this, because it really seems like he's having a lot of fun, despite the fact that there's danger, despite the fact that his friends and companions are in peril at times, and despite the fact that Earth is a target, he feels like he's having fun the whole time. Whereas he gets a little more stoic as the Fifth Doctor goes on.
I can see that.
And he still has a lot of the witty lines, and he's still very clever, and he retains a lot of that. But I wish he would have retained a lot of the other characteristics
I would love to have seen,
brings to the role in this particular story.
I would have loved to have seen more of the ferociousness we saw in this from him later on down the road. Because I felt like in the beginning, he was having fun, he was being quirky, like you said, but he still felt very Fifth Doctor, very Peter Davison, very kind of mellow. But then those moments where he reared his claws, especially at Adric, phenomenal. And that's where I was like, I can see why Chrissy likes him as a Doctor. This is great.
But when you say rear his claws, it's still in a very it's still, compassionate way.
It is.
You know
it's a very Fifth Doctor way, but it's not in the way I've seen him act before, giving Adric the verbal smackdown that he gives him. It's just, it's in character, but it's still assertive and not almost being a pushover like sometimes he seems like he is.
I know why.
Because it's Adric. And that's partially why I liked it so much, was he's giving Adric it's like when Tyrion slaps Joffrey, we all cheer.
This is the Fifth Doctor. This episode. This is how he was to be played. And he wasn't, because he spent the rest of his time in the TARDIS dealing with Adric and Tegan.
Yeah.
Because
he wore down, and
kind of gets some of that back a little bit when Tegan leaves and we get Turlo.
He just runs down. He runs out of gas because he's so tired of dealing with their crap
and having such a full TARDIS and trying to juggle and making everyone happy.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just he gives up. I'm not saying Peter Davison did as an actor gave up. I'm saying the Doctor gave up and just was like, screw it, I don't care anymore. I mean, he's just that constant. We only get Tegan in little bits. We only get Adric in little bits in these in-between adventures. There's weeks and weeks and weeks of in-between story time that go on within the TARDIS.
You can tell from this one, too.
Imagine what happened in those.
That the Doctor's already fed up with Tegan. And in the get-go.
Right off the bat.
Oh, you don't want the key? Fine. I'm not going to put up with your crap anymore.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, he continues to the rest of his era.
I really like Tegan in this story.
Well, she starts off annoying, and then she ends up getting pretty good.
She starts off in character with Tegan, and then
annoying.
She ends up being more of the sensible one of the group, in my opinion. She actually contributes instead of whines the entire time. It's a little disingenuous of her to try to run, though, and if the ship hadn't caught her, she probably would have gotten further away. Although
and left everybody behind.
I love the I love the line from the Monarch that, any idiot can pilot the ship.
I look at right off the bat when she's berating him for not getting him back to Heathrow. And he's kind of like, yes, I know. Okay.
I did like Adric's response to it of, it's a time machine. We could spend 3 weeks here and I'll still get you on time. Which has always been my attitude towards Tegan. Stop complaining. You're going to get there.
This is it's
and just one wants back.
But you know what? I mean, this is only 3 stories in, and she's been lifted away out of her life. I can see somebody that does not want to be on the adventure.
Yeah. Having not seen her origin, I might be more sympathetic when I see that.
And here's the deal: despite everything that I have said, which you might take as Sean, I genuinely do like Tegan. I don't know why. I really do like her as a character.
I like Tegan when she's with the Doctor and Turlo, but.
I like her better with the Dr. Turla. She never really
Past
seems
this.
Well, at that point, she got home and realized she wanted to be with the Doctor. So there is more of a character change at that point.
Once she comes back in Arc of Infinity. I think she's a strong character in Arc of Infinity as well.
But she very much falls into that, I don't understand these characters that, hey, look, I made it to Wonderland, I made it to Oz, I made it to Hogwarts, when can I go home?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? Home is bleak and black and white and dusty and
But that's
full
not
of chickens.
But that's not Tegan.
But she is.
But that's not Tegan because
she has a time and space machine, and she's like, when can I get back to my job?
Yeah, but the thing is, the people that went to Wonderland and the people that went to
didn't go there on purpose.
Well, it wasn't even that, but they dreamed of going somewhere different. They dreamed of going somewhere better. They dreamed of going somewhere.
Flash Gordon, Dale Arden. When do we get back to it? What is wrong with you?
Well,
you're a queen princess on Mongo. You
I
can
think
do whatever you want, but you want to go home.
I think, Sean, she's in the same boat as Tegan, though. She didn't dream of something bigger. She was satisfied in her life. And then when she went and was pulled away from that, she was ready to go back to normal life. I think Tegan's the same way. I completely excuse that idea. Now, Dorothy wanting to go home right away after she was wanting to go somewhere bigger and better. And all of those examples you used where there were people that their lives were boring and mundane and they were dreamers and they wanted to be explorers and they wanted to be adventurers and they went in and they got that and then they would realize they want to go home. I mean, obviously there's a moral in that idea, but I can't put Tegan and I can't put Dale from Flash Gordon in that category because they were whisked away from something that they were probably very happy with, put in danger several times, made to do things that they didn't want to do, and yeah, I'd want to go home too. I'd like to go back to my normal life. I didn't have any problem with it. I was a stewardess on an airplane. I loved it. I flew from here to there. World. Yeah, I don't think it can be applied here. I think your idea is sound with the examples you use. Tegan can't be put in that situation.
Maybe it's because I'd be willing to go that I don't understand people who don't.
I think that's why.
Maybe that's just because
you're one of those. You're one of those wannabe explorers, wannabe dreamers. You are a dreamer. You're one of those people that are looking for the adventure, looking for something better, something fun, something to broaden your horizons, to explore. You want to go with the Doctor. Tegan was thrown into it. It was a situational thing for her, and she ended up with the Doctor due to circumstance. It had nothing to do with, you want to come on an adventure? Sure. I mean, Rose got her chance. Martha got her chance. I mean, they all did. Hardly anybody, especially in the new series,
Rose
was whisked away.
First.
Yeah.
Except for Brian.
Well, so did Donna for that.
Donna initially.
Yeah, but that she realized what she wanted. So I think there are the people that got on board with that's I think the same thing. Probably going back to Victoria last week is Victoria was a victim of circumstance, and I think the first instance that she got a chance to get out of there, she said, "Yeah, I want to go back to a normal life with a foster mother and father, or somebody that's a symbol of a mother and father." I think there's certain people you can apply that question to. There's certain people that you have to just accept that they don't want traveling with a Doctor isn't necessarily something they want to be. Now, Tegan's the same way to me as Donna was. Is Tegan realized once she got back, hey, maybe I did enjoy that life better, and then they both strive to go back to that, and they do, and they don't complain once they're on the trip.
Yeah, that's true. She's a much different character when she goes back.
Sorry, Sean. Donna.
Yeah,
a pre-Donna.
Now, Adric, she's a pre-Donna, a prima donna. Adric, however.
You know, as head slappy as Adric was in this, I kind of enjoyed him.
I did too, and I'm with
because he did some really solid things. While they were like Turlo in the first part of Turlo's story, working against the Doctor every chance he got.
Shall we play another round of why you're the worst companion
The difference between that is Turlo was maliciously doing it. I don't think Adric was malicious about
dumb.
it. He was gullible.
He just
for the Artful Dodger thing
Here's
they were going with.
Here's the thing, though, is that was the Adric that I thought we were seeing there at the beginning, and I agreed with Chrissy when she was talking about the way he was acting, not necessarily his motives, but the way that he was acting was very much in line with what I think we should have got from Adric, was the idea of the Artful Dodger type of character. And when I saw that happening, I thought, oh yeah, this is how this should have been playing out all along. and then it's then as you find out, it's more of a gullibility. It's more of a believability.
Well, it's
Then
gullibility
like,
and
all right,
only
whatever.
thinking for himself instead of
well,
thinking
that's
for the
that.
doctor.
That goes in line with the whole art for Dodger idea.
Yeah, it
that
starts
goes
that
along
way,
with it.
and
But
then-
yeah,
Yeah,
then when
it
it's
was- it
like,
was
well, no,
such a-
you're just dumb.
It was
For
such
a
a
smart kid, you're an idiot.
such a complete replay of the State of Decay when he's like, yeah, I want to be a vampire. All right, yeah. Oh, no, I was actually trying to save you. No, you weren't. I don't believe it. For
You were
that.
just saving your
you
own
were
skin.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, the doctor's got 2 hearts, and I'm sure he'd be happy to show you around the TARDIS. Let me go get the key. I know who's got it. It's like, now, if they had written that scene so that he was feeding the Monarch all this false information,
Yeah, that would be
I'd have been
different.
that would have worked. But instead, it's just, oh, I got to go over here and do this. Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And that's why I look at the Doctor and go, God love the Fifth Doctor's patience.
Oh.
We've talked about all these different characters that all these different characteristics that all these doctors have had. His has got to be patience. It's got to be number one on the list. He's the patient doctor because nobody else would put up with these two.
It's true.
You put Tegan and Adric together on the same ship, I'm looking for a rope and a ceiling beam. Oh my God. But he just kind of goes with it and hopes for the best.
I suppose you could argue that, and if it happens sooner, it would be an easier way to argue it. But I suppose you could argue that the tonal change in the Doctor, again, it's not a night and day, it's just a slight difference, could be based on Adric's death and Earthshock as well. So I could use that to appease
I would need to see more building up to that.
my understanding for why, but that's still 5 more stories away,
Yeah.
at least, because we've got Kenda next, and then we've got I think the Visitation's in there.
Yep.
Black Orchid's obviously in there. It seems like there's one more between there. Visitation, Kenda Visitation. Seems like there's something else. Black Orchid,
And then Earthshock.
and then Ursha.
But anyway, so I've harped a lot on the characters. Other than that, this is such a phenomenal episode. The ideas are amazing and
Nope,
cool.
there's nothing in between.
There's nothing.
There's nothing in between?
I
So
remembered
4.
all of them. Wow.
The ideas are amazing and cool. The concepts are cool. The cliffhangers are cool, except for the one where they're going to cut the Doctor's head off. And it's kind of like,
Well, I agree with Chrissy.
I don't buy that one.
Was it Chrissy that said it's like they couldn't commit to a cliffhanger, so you get 3 different cliffhangers?
Choose your adventure at this point.
I love the Monarch
The android
as a-
reveal was cool, even though you got it twice. This I thought was much more interesting than the face coming off. But
Well, that's
It's
the one that
interesting
had
how
the
they
3.
did it.
That's the one that had
That's
the 3
right, the
cliffhangers.
3,
The
yeah.
cutting the head off, I actually liked that as a cliffhanger.
I liked it as a cliffhanger, but it wasn't convincing.
you're the one that's always said that when the cliffhanger comes and the Doctor's the one in danger, you go, I don't buy it.
Yeah, but I thought the structure of that cliffhanger was well done.
well, okay.
That is in the vein of a real cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You know, how's the Doctor going to get out? That's the other thing too. Is sometimes you're right. If I go, the Doctor's going to get out of it. But the other fact is sometimes you wonder. Sometimes a good cliffhanger is how is he going to get out of that because of the situation that they're in. So that one I actually was fine with.
We're going to deliver
The
a line of dialogue and easily
the
reveal it.
resolution was phenomenal. I absolutely love how he got out of that one. I love that Nyssa took the pin and the screwdriver and went science.
And I was lamenting
Science.
before the cliffhanger that her science got interrupted because she was going to show him experiment, and then she gets to.
That was my first thought too. Was
The Sonic and a
what was she
pencil.
going to do with the Sonic and the pen?
And I love that they explained it. That they used the graphite and the pencil, the blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, okay. Sure,
I
I'll
agree
buy
with
that.
Chrissy. Nyssa is phenomenal.
Well, and I think you probably, because you weren't there, you probably missed out on some of the science tweets that
I
we.
went back and read
Oh, did you?
the-
I had no idea that Nyssa was actually planning on being written
I
out.
fired him up the part 3 from Saturday night and went to the tweet stream where you guys left off and just kept.
Did a Friday Night Who rerun.
I did. I finished it. I queued back up my tweet stream.
I had no idea. For those that didn't know, that apparently Nyssa was doomed to be written out of this episode. That she was going to be no more. And Peter Davidson championed for her to stick around because, quote, she was the companion that was most like what his Doctor was going to, be bouncing off of. And that's why at the end of the episode she collapses and then spends
They had to
all
write
of
her out for Kinda because
Kinda.
she's hardly in. She's
You
not
know,
in
she wasn't in Kinda because
Well,
she was already planned to be out.
She was not. She was written out of Kinda, but they do have some framing scenes.
Right. But that's why. And then it's nice that Big Finish was able to kind of take that and go, okay, we can work with that and give her a reason for fainting and not just exhaustion from the mind probe or whatever. No, not the mind probe.
What was it? Latent psychic.
Latent psychic ability. And it's just now kicking in. But you know, just watching this in this episode, Chrissy, I get it. I totally get it now. I don't think I really truly got it until now. And maybe it's because I needed two companions that I wasn't too partial on to really stink up the atmosphere before I went, wow, this is really pretty awesome, and I've just never seen it before.
Well, we've commented from the Big Finish, too, and
She's so much better in Big
and
Finish.
some of the later stories, like her end story was phenomenal for her.
Enlightenment.
And too bad it's her last story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that Enlightenment?
No.
Yeah.
No, those
Terminus.
were
Terminus.
Terminus.
But yeah,
Because Enlightenment's the race.
Right.
I liked the makeup of the frog people. I thought that was really cool.
Well, it starts that the Monarch looks phenomenal, and then the other two is kind of like, you're the ape soldiers, aren't you?
It's like they have
They
tried
didn't
on
have the
makeup.
money.
I thought the same thing.
That's what happened, was they didn't have the money or didn't want to put as much effort into it because they were going to change in the human anyways. So they made sure that Monarch looked great, and the other two were kind of.
They should have started from the beginning with them looking normal and just implied that they could look that way. You know,
I don't know. That was kind of a neat reveal of we can change forms and everything.
It did
that was
work
a nice
as a good reveal.
addition.
I agree.
And the reasoning behind it, that it wasn't just some mumbo jumbo science thing that we could do. It was that there was a plotted reason behind it, that we got Tegan to show us this so that we can now
blend into
the society and use that to our advantage later. And it's like, this is well thought out.
Yeah.
There's not a throwaway in this.
No, really isn't.
No, the story is really well written.
And the ideas behind it and the villains, I thought, were well realized and well motivated. Unlike some
Monarch.
of the motivations.
Yeah.
I really like
Monarch
Monarch.
is so enjoyable to watch.
The actor was so captivating the entire time.
And just the fact that he really not
even
up until the
makeup.
end, that he kind of becomes the raving lunatic.
Well,
the megalomania. But just the fact that he's so
even
measured
then,
it's that measured, low key.
That's what works so well.
Yeah.
And how
because he has that arrogance to him the entire time.
And when he's sweet talking Adric. Well, I just wanted. You almost like, they change actors. Where did the other guy go? I mean, he was.
This guy's not that bad.
He's just.
Oh no! Wait a minute. Yes, he is.
Mesmerizing as a villain. He was so good. And then all of the. I mean, of course. Who's the Plato guy? Bigon. Bitmap. Bigon. What's his name? Bigon. Of course, he would be. It had to be the guy from Aristotle, Plato's.
Let bygone be bygone.
It had to be him that was the one that was like, I've been around the longest, and we need to get rid of it. What?
You know who he was? The
Bigon?
actor? No. I'm sorry. Back to the Monarch. I'm sorry.
Oh, the Monarch.
I didn't recognize
the mighty Monarch.
The actor who is Stanford Johns. Have you guys ever seen Stratford Johns? You ever seen the movie Splitting Heirs with Rick Moranis and Eric Idle?
I don't think so.
Oh, he was the butler in that.
Really?
Perfect for him too. That's great.
Nope.
Oh, if you've never seen Splitting Heirs, it's one of the. In fact, you can see it for free on YouTube. It's one of those movies that is
nobody's going to lay claim to it.
Pretty much, but I think it's even one of those movies that they know they're not going to get any DVD releases. So I think that it's one of those few studio movies that the studio said, well, we'll put it out there on YouTube. Anyone wants to watch it, they can watch it. That kind of thing, because YouTube's trying to gain ground with Netflix and all those kind of places as far as that stuff goes. But it's one of those movies that I always find myself. It's almost a guilty pleasure. Structurally, it's not a great film, but it has these great moments in it between or individually by Eric Idle and Rick Moranis, and then together with the two, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And very fun.
Eric Idle and Rick Moranis would have to be good.
Yeah, it's very Python-esque too, and I think Eric Idle might have even written that. So, and I think Terry Jones. I'm maybe out of line now here, but I think Terry Jones directed that. So, anyway, back to
Bigon.
It had to be Bigon that was the one who finally kind of pieced things together. I mean, it could have been anybody else. It had to be the guy that was.
And he's so matter of fact too about it. He's just this is what's happened here. This is what's
yeah.
And then they decommissioned him and brought him back.
That's just it. He sees the opportunity here now with the Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like you expect him to be a little more excited about it, but he's just kind of, this is what's happening and this is what has to be done.
Well, and everything.
Figure out how to do it.
Everything about it was so matter of fact. When they bring him to the quarters and he goes, "We're not putting you out? Oh, no, I won't need them anymore." Mm-hmm. Okay.
And how easily he was able to convince Lin Futu of what was going on.
Kato!
Yeah. It's clear you don't read my tweets because I had tweeted that like when he first showed up, and then I met him reading my tweet stream, and I'm going, and then Sean goes, "Oh, hey, gets Kato for the Pink Panther films." Like, clearly nobody reads my tweets.
Nobody reacted to his tweet.
Nobody reacted to mine either.
Well, I didn't react because number one, I was asleep by the time I tweeted it, and number two, I had already said it like an hour ago.
I thought I saw you tweet it, but I wasn't sure. And so
the tweet stream goes so quick, especially on a busy one where a lot of people are
especially at the beginning.
I was actually waiting for you to pipe in and say that, hey, yeah, I tweeted that a while ago.
But
you fell asleep.
I would have done it, but
my normal Friday night routine anymore is I come home from work and we boot everything up and get ready, and then I say, "Hey, everybody, how's it going?" And then I eat dinner.
Yeah.
So
I've been over even back in the day when I was coming to your place. I've been over there when you've done that.
So then it's a matter of, okay, I'm finished now, and I have to go back and kind of did I miss anything important? And I'm kind of scanning through, and okay, that one's worth replying to, and hey, thanks for that one, and then okay, I'm good, I'm caught up. So I may have missed yours. I'm sorry, I did not mean to. I did not mean to imply that.
No,
but it was Kato.
It was one of those ones that I realized that you probably just didn't see it. Yeah, Kato. Yeah, from Pink Panther films.
A real genuine Asian
and
doctor.
from Group Ledo. How would you say that one? Group. That big Finnish
Group
one.
Lego.
That's it.
Oh,
no.
was he in that too?
He was the
Luke Garreau. The werewolf one.
Yeah.
He was the Asian doctor who was caring for the kid.
Yeah.
And I thought he sounded familiar there too, and I couldn't place him.
Dr.
I brought that up. Yeah, I brought that up that was
I guess I wasn't listening to you then either. Talk some more about Kato so that I can learn from you, Glenn.
Kato's my favorite part of the Pink Panther films. He's awesome. Actually, I don't think we realized that's who it was, and I think he looked it up on IMDb, and I went, "Oh, that's why he sounded so familiar."
Maybe that was it. I don't know.
Anyway,
just
in the bar to the rescue.
Inspector
And I
Clouseau's residence.
recognized him though in Fort of Doomsday. As soon as he came on the screen, I went, "Kato!"
Inspector Clouseau's residence. Yeah, Kato. Okay, so here's a question I had. I brought it up on the tweet stream. Why didn't the TARDIS translation surrogates translate the Aborigine? Don't get me wrong, it was a cool moment for Tegan to have something to do, which was wonderful. But shouldn't they have all understood it?
Should have. I think it was one of those things that it was a way to have Tegan have something to do.
Yeah.
Like, hey, she's from Australia. There's a good chance that she does know Aborigine as well. So
maybe the TARDIS didn't like her.
Especially
after she went in there and turned all the knobs and twisted all the buttons.
We presume that the translation matrix is all-knowing, but is it?
Maybe
if something doesn't get put in there, maybe they overlook something when they're programming the translation matrix. Perhaps that Aborigine was an old enough language that they. I mean, most of the world didn't know that the marsupials existed until they explored Australia. So I can see how that could be kind of isolated in the Down Under. I don't know.
There's no marsupials; they're just giant mice.
I think we've come. I think we've come across. I think we've come across other.
I've seen the Looney Tunes; they're all giant mice.
I think we've
boxing mice.
I think we've come across other times, and I can't think of any examples right now where we've.
Think of the Rings of Akatan was one, or didn't translate for the person they bought the speeder from.
Oh, that's
the
true.
barking.
The barking
was translated for, but we chalked that up to that. At that point, the TARDIS didn't like.
Yeah, but
Clara.
Okay, didn't like Tegan.
Didn't like Tegan.
She wasn't invited on. She just kind of showed up.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd think she would have tried a little harder.
And she initially rejected the key.
The TARDIS should have been like, "Where? Heathrow? When? All right, there you go." And
I'll even get you there sooner.
Off. There's so much good in this story. The sets. Did anybody else think, "Wow, that looks exactly like Terminus, it looked.
I didn't think it
I didn't think it looked like
brighter.
Terminus.
It was
It was-
brighter.
it was
for one
brighter.
thing.
I was impressed by the sets. And
I think they recycled that
very,
one.
very industrial. That's what I liked about it, especially when
Yeah.
they're in like what looks like a cargo hold.
well, and then the one room was bright, and they justified it being bright.
Yeah.
And then other parts not as bright. It actually had some atmosphere as opposed to Wars of the Deep, where everything was bright.
And I think that I get so frustrated the more Davison era stuff that I see, and I think back to all the people that complain about how the settings were, the lights were too bright. You could see the blemishes, and I disagree. I think that they realized the lighting had to be bright, and so I think they put a lot of detail in the sets because almost all of the at least spaceship sets from season 18, which yes, I realize that's the end of Tom Baker, to season 19, season 20. Even season 21, they're bright sets. They're very industrial looking. They're very almost spaceship, sci-fi pristine, 80s spaceship look. I don't have a problem with the bright lights and the bright lighting. I think it adds to those backgrounds, and I think that it works. And I never can understand the people that complain about how there's not enough. If you had brought the lighting down, you could have convinced me better. Forget that. I think they did a tremendous job at a lot of those sets.
And as a set designer
Terminus was
too,
another one.
it's probably very ungratifying to put all that attention to detail into a set and then have somebody else come in, knock out 4 fluorescents, put a flickering light on one side, and bring in a smoke machine and go, oh,
Here you go.
well, never mind.
And that's the thing is, I there are some sets that you can see the scars, and I think they would have benefited from lower lighting, and I think we've said that before. Yeah, but this is one of those situations where you don't see the seams, and I think that the bright lighting really, really benefits the backgrounds in this.
Yeah,
So,
I had
it's
no
my
problem
opinion.
with it. I think they were great. I do think they recycled these sets when they went to Terminus because I think
Yeah, it
even
could
the layout of the space station was like, wait a minute, this looks
The
great.
TARDIS Wikia does not say anything about reusing the sets later.
I didn't feel that at all,
You didn't
but maybe.
It just
Maybe,
felt
I would-
very
I would-
familiar with the grading on the floor and everything. But it's also been long enough since I've watched Terminus that maybe I'm talking out my butt.
I really like the space scene.
The spacewalk?
Yeah, and then with the cricket ball.
I bought it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, but I was also a kid that bought laser swords. That there's no lightsabers. Laser swords should not. A beam of light shouldn't end at one point. I also bought sound in space when I was a kid. When the TIE fighters went screaming by. So yeah, I can buy the fact that you throw a kick a ball, it comes back.
And it was a great moment of him figuring out how to get across
it's a
there.
wonderful moment.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it work?
And
What was the deal with
well,
the,
it just wouldn't be as fast.
No, once it hit the spaceship, it would have stopped. Just when he hit the spaceship with a thud, it wouldn't have bounced back because there's no. The inertia of it would have been stifled by the fact that there was lack of gravity. Because he could propel it because he has the inertia behind it.
inertia.
But once it got to the ship, it would have just because there's resistance, but there's no gravity, so there's no inertia.
You know how I fix it? The gravity slightly extends the whole of the ship.
I bought it. I was fine with it.
That's
I
why
thought
they
it
can
was
walk on
fine.
spaceships, too,
I thought it was
easily.
fine. Science be damned.
Well, and the hatch was open. The hatch was open, so there had to be some.
Well,
and
they
Adric
kept
was standing in
they
the
kept
hatch.
running and jumping out.
Yeah,
so-
so there had to be at least a little bit of gravity.
gravity.
So
What's the deal with the rope?
Sure.
Was it just not long enough? Is that what it was
think that's
happening?
what it was,
Because
yeah.
he never quite gets to the end of the rope, and so it's not conveyed clear enough to me
I
that
think it's
he
supposed
just
to be
can't
too
quite
short.
get there.
I don't think it's the rope
last
wasn't long
time it
enough.
does,
I think
but-
it was that he didn't have enough inertia to get all the way out there. That he does, and he's running, he jumps, and he's kind of swimming, and then stalls out.
Yeah.
So he has to grab the rope and pedal back, and, then
And
he
that
tries
fight
it
scene
again,
in
and it
the
doesn't
airlock
work.
was pretty impressive too. I thought.
Yeah.
Adric and his
Well-
combination Battlestar Galactica Sontaran helmet.
Something that did bother me about it was I wasn't too pleased with the
Choking?
incidental music.
Oh.
It was just a little off from what I think we should have had.
I didn't notice
these
it.
scenes. It was real noticeable to me, and I thought, and I don't know what I can't really put my finger on what my problem was with it. It wasn't quite right. It was almost a little too technical. I don't know. It just there was something about it that was a little obvious.
Too upbeat.
And I really only notice it when they're in that scene, the spacewalk scene, because there's no sound in the action. You can't hear what they're saying. You can't hear them hitting each other or attacking each other. you could only hear the music because it was front and center, and maybe that's why it was.
And what an interesting Doctor Who, the show that kind of goes, we're going to adhere to the physics of sound in space at this point. Okay.
But the cricket ball works.
I
Gravity double.
And I love the...
That's such a great moment.
It's just right there. I love this story. I really
enjoyed it too.
I'd never seen this one before, and just so blown away by it.
Well, I think this is one that I saw when it actually aired here for us, and it was right after Tom's run, and I think I remember seeing Castrovalva this. I remember seeing Kind as a kid, so I must have seen it next. I remember seeing The Visitation. So there must have been a run of Davison that I didn't miss.
Up to a certain point before they rebooted them.
Because,
or replayed them.
Yeah, before they restarted Tom's era. So, I don't know.
Anybody else? Anything else?
Anything else? It's a fun story. It's very well acted. I think the characters are very well balanced in this story, despite the fact that Adric is a bit annoying at times in this. I think that everybody's given an equal balance of things to do, whether you agree with what they're doing.
Yes.
The Team TARDIS, Chrissy said this, Team TARDIS is well used in this.
Although I did feel...
And you don't feel the crowded TARDIS syndrome because it feels like every part has a place.
It did. There was a small part that felt like Nyssa got pushed to the background, especially when she went to go get turned into an android. She was kind of written out and unconscious for a while, but it was serving a purpose still.
Yeah, exactly. And she comes back and gets some really great moments. So it's almost counterbalanced by that.
It pays off.
Yeah.
And she'd been strong up to that point, so that's one I don't necessarily mind.
They wanted her because she was been so strong.
Well,
right.
It's one of the nice things about that.
Though Tegan has her moments, and then when she runs off and tries to escape the TARDIS, and the whole manual trying to get the thing going, that's really kind of her. We're setting her aside and not giving her much to do while we concentrate on this and Adric and the Doctor at this point. So that's why I say it just feels like everybody is
and then even Adric gets knocked out for a while too. Yeah. So
he's pushed back to the back as well. So.
Well, it's an example.
Literally knocked out.
It's an example of really good tap dancing to make sure that everybody has that moment, because when one of the characters is, I don't even want to say diminished or pushed aside, but one of the characters
were diminished at all. They were
just doing something else. It's not like they're out of the action altogether. They're just over here doing something else, and we get this moment where we get the interaction between Adric and Tegan. And then Nyssa comes back and says, well, we went and did this, because she's off with the Doctor. Right. And then they come back and they split up, and it's, Nyssa and Adric doing something, while Tegan's off doing something else. So you get that constant, it's not like one individual person is split off in episode 1 and kept separate up until the resolution at the end, which we get so frequently.
Terrence Dudley do any other stories for Doctor Who?
Yes, he did.
Going off the top of my head.
He directed Megalos, and he wrote Black Orchid and the King's Demons.
Okay. Well, this was definitely his strongest.
not as strong outings for the other two, but not horrible.
And apparently, Peter Davison wasn't a big fan of Terrence for some reason. Right? I don't know why.
Huh. I don't know why.
Particularly, according to us, especially unhappy with Dudley's work on Black Orchid.
Okay.
Black Orchid has a whole other host of problems. But
Sean, if there's anything else on this, you want to tell us what's coming up next on the schedule?
Well, next on the schedule, as you guys have already alluded, we've got a very busy movie week ahead for Flicks with Friends. So we've got, run me through it one more time.
Conquest Tuesday. Of the Planet of the Apes, Tuesday at 11:30 Central Daylight Time, p.m.
The Wolverine on Wednesday at 11:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
And then
we give you Thursday off.
You get Thursday off. And then Friday Night Who this week is Dalek with Christopher Eccleston. So it's the 9th episode. And yes, I know we've done Dalek relatively recently, but we're going to do it again. And the reason for that is our show next week. We will be discussing the pros and cons, differences and similarities between Dalek and the story that it was supposedly inspired by, Big Finish, number 40 in the main line, Jubilee.
Yay.
So you've got some homework if you haven't listened to it.
Reminds me, I did something else this weekend.
What did you do?
I for the most part, finished up organizing my iTunes stuff. Hey, for anybody that's done it, knows that that's a very
huge
satisfying moment.
It is a lot
when
of
you
work.
get to now, it'll never be the end because I will continue to add, but now it's manageable because everything that was lost, loose, not updated, files were, incomplete or corrupt, and they didn't have album artwork, and they didn't have, maybe one song didn't have the right artist, or did have the right artist, but was in the wrong spot,
Or the tracks were in the wrong sequence.
The tracks were in the wrong sequence. I've for years been going through and doing this with a lot of bumps in the road where I've lost data and I've lost library updates and things like that. And so I came to that point on Saturday night, that I got to the point where I was like, I'm done. Everything else from now is maintenance. So, sorry, I had to throw that out. The reason I said that is because I got all of the Big Finish that I own. I got that all worked out and organized within my audiobooks, because a lot of times that ends up in my
You wind up with
music
weird
for some
places,
reason.
yeah.
And so some of that stuff was scattered about. And I got that taken care of.
And there's
Jubilee,
nothing more
Jubilee
annoying.
was one of them.
Nothing more annoying than hitting a playlist and just kind of going, no, and you're on random and shuffle, and it's going from song to song to song, and then all of a sudden some weird noise happens, and you're like, "What the? Oh, this is a Big Finish, isn't it?"
I had one of those. I had one of those Big Finishes that started with the music, didn't have a pre-opening sequence, and I was listening to my playlist one time when I was mowing the lawn, and I was out there, and the Seventh Doctor's or the Sixth Doctor's theme came on. Fifth and Sixth Doctor's theme came on, and I went, "Why do I have this?" It wasn't even a playlist; it was just on shuffle.
Just on shuffle.
I was like, "Why is this in my music?" Okay, I must have put the Doctor Who themes in there and didn't skip shuffle. So I'm mowing a lawn, and then all of a sudden some action starts happening, and I went, "Oh, this is one of the Big Finish stories." Anyway, go ahead.
No offense, Big Finish. I'm sure that there are plenty of people that like to listen to you while they mow.
Actually, that's what I do now. Is I listen to audio stories when I mow. But go ahead.
For the record, we have not done Dalek since February 3rd, 2012. Friday Night Who.
Really?
What you're thinking of is we recently did the Celine two-parter, and then many of us went on and did Dalek afterwards because it was next.
2000.
Been more
When?
than
12?
more than 2 years. February of 2012.
According to our website.
We did something in 2013 with it. I'm
According to
sure
our
of it.
website. I clicked Dalek under the tags. If we did it, we didn't tag it on our website.
Oh, no, well, that's possible. Although I try to tag.
I do too for Friday Night Who, and I create the Who post.
Sean tends to over tag, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Just
That's going to bother him
It's going to
now.
bother me.
Well-
I know we've done it.
we'll figure it out.
Did it recently.
What else? We're doing Dalek and Jubilee, and then what's beyond that? Do we have anything?
Stuff
And things.
and things.
Stuff.
After Dalek and Jubilee, we have the Caves of Adrazani on the 30th of May for Friday Night Who, followed by an entire show about the Caves of Adrazani.
I'm so happy we're doing my favorite classic Who story.
Followed by the Twin Dilemma.
I'm so sad we're doing my least favorite Doctor Who story.
Followed by the Twin Dilemma and ebook number 6, Something Borrowed. And that brings us all the way up to the beginning of June in episode 180, and kind of in a holding pattern until we get this confirmed nonsense ironed out as to whether or not the show's coming back in July.
We don't hear anything until July, though, unfortunately.
I will post more as we get just a little bit closer. We'll probably play it by ear and throw something.
You
simple
manage to keep
together.
us usually about 3 weeks ahead of time. There's only been a few times that we've been less than 3 weeks
Yeah.
out. So
Well, you'll know at least in July we'll have an ebook at one point.
I don't know.
true.
I'm between classes right now. I should probably schedule it out through 2016 and just call it good.
well, you've done that before, not that far advanced, but you've done that where you've done almost a full year with contingencies.
Yeah, that's true.
If this happens, then this is the way we go. If this happens, then our string theory universe goes off to another
It's the
direction.
branching schedule.
Yeah. All right. Well,
And in December of 2015, there's a whole month that I've set aside to do nothing but talk about Star Wars. So
yay! Is there anything else we need to talk about before we close this show?
once again, thank you for listening. I hope you had as much fun as we did. We hope you had more fun than we did, 'cause sometimes it's a little bit
I was quite a downer on that one story. All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week,
And as always, the opinions and thoughts of Glenn are...
I'm going to say that.
He can be reached at Glenn at travelingthevortex.com.
If that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Remember when you used to yell at me about saying good night because if they were listening to it during the day, it didn't make any sense? You've mellowed.
Way back like 170 some episodes ago.
170 some odd episodes ago.
Because you gave up after the first couple.
That's pretty much it.
Well, after I said it, I couldn't go back and change it. It was just like, well, that's my thing now.
I listen to other podcasts to say goodnight, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.